Hey guys, welcome back to the Snapring Chronicles. Today we're back at you with another ratchet video. This time we have an Armstrong Ratchet. But before we jump into the ratchet, if you can please give me a like and also subscribe to this channel if you find this content helpful or possibly entertaining. Okay, we have today, it's an old Armstrong. It's a number SA-51, SA-51, and this is a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. It's forged in USA, and the letters are raised, forged in, so no engraving. These are forged in raised lettering. And you see it's pretty flat. The handle is pretty flat, everything. Even the head is pretty flat, as you can see there. And here's the switch. Very light back drag on these, it's like almost nothing. And this is a very coarse ratchet. This has only 24 teeth, so it's not one of those high tooth ratchets. It's pretty old. This, I would say, probably going from the late 40s into the 50s. And I did a review some time back on a similar ratchet. It was also an Armstrong, and here it is. It's the Armstrong number SAB-51, which is pretty much the same ratchet. Yeah, they're pretty much the same ratchets, except for the fact that this this one has a couple of different features. If we put them side by side, you see that this one has a ball detent, a spring-loaded ball detent in between the switch. And from what I heard, that was to keep the switch from sliding over. So this could be a later on. This one could be earlier. This one could be later on. Feature that they added there with the ball detent in the middle of the switch. I'm not sure. And as you can see, this one here has this raised kind of area where this one doesn't have that. So I guess to protect the switch here, they just kind of have this kind of raised there to give it, I guess, some protection. Doesn't look like a whole lot. And the switch, this just looks like a piece of metal that's been hammered to give it a shape. And the switch is actually two-piece switch. It has a knob that, I don't know if you can see on the bottom here, it's been attached or pinned in place on top of this shank, this knob, this switch, little switch shank. And they both have been pinned. Both switches have been pinned in place. Okay, and this one has a dark finish, maybe military, not sure. There's not much information on these online, and there's only a little bit of information on this one on alloy artifacts, and this one wasn't. They didn't even mention this one on alloy artifacts. Let's take a look inside and see what we find. Has 2 screws. These are replacement screws. I put them on myself because the screw that came with the ratchet, it only came with 1 screw, and the one that it came with was stripped. So I just tossed it and I put in a couple of newer screws. And this plate here is pretty tight, so I'm gonna give it a little knock. to open it up, and here is the plate. Pretty thick plate. Could be an alloy. It doesn't feel like really heavy, so I'm not sure what metal it is, and it was well chromed. You can see both sides are pretty well chromed on this. Here is the gear. As I said, pretty big teeth, 24. That's what they look like. It's the ball detent. Looks like they did a pretty good job. It's well centered, and it's well centered both ways. The peening is well centered, and it's also well centered in the middle of the anvil. And you see some of the chrome starting to peel off a little bit there. And some lines. I'm not sure if these were from manufacturer, but it does look like these are machine marks from manufacturer. Here's a look inside. Looks like the typical old plum proto style, 2 pawls with springs pushing them on each side of the spring, on the outside of the spring, pushing them in when you switch like that, and it pushes the other pawl this way and compresses the spring and loosens that spring a little bit. This is the pawl. This is what it looks like. It looks like it's been chromed also. Has a little piece sticking out that goes in the hole on the bottom there to help keep the pawl in place, and you can see that. See. Okay, you can see the holes there, those little protrusions kind of sit in to keep the pawl from wandering, I guess. And these are the springs, just regular cone style springs. Not very hard to depress. Not very tight. Kind of a light spring. Okay, here's the inside. Here's the inside of. Let me get my pointer. The inside of the mechanism. Not sure if this was manufactured like that, or if through time and use they started to make a little trench there from rubbing on the gear over here. Not sure if that was there originally, or that just happened through use. And it looks a little bit rough in here. You can see here the broaching. It looks like they went in, but they didn't clean up this, so you can see like little pieces of metal like just sticking up there. They were not removed. And let me see on the other side. Yeah, the other side you can see also here, pretty rough where the screw hole goes. They just drilled it in, and they didn't remove any of this little pieces of metal that just are part of the broaching process. So kind of a little bit rough in there. Okay, and to get these back together, it's pretty simple. You just just take your pawls with the little protrusion facing down, and you drop them in there. You take your spring with the little piece, the little part of the cone facing towards the pawl, and you get that like that. You take your gear, and you drop it in like that. And here's a look at what it, let me hold this down a little bit. This is what it looks like when it's ratcheting. And switch it over, and this is what the other side looks like. Okay, now you just take your plate. I know which side it is because you can see the friction here around the hole. See the friction from the gear, so that side is the side that went down. And try to press that in as best possible. Let me see if I can get my little hammer, which somebody was making fun of me one time, and hammer that down. I like this hammer. It has the plastic face on it, so it doesn't mar the metal when you use it on stuff like this. And you just take your screws, screw those in. You test it out, see if it's ratcheting. Yeah, it's ratcheting. So yeah, that's the teardown and quick comparison of the Armstrong SA-51 Ratchet, vintage, probably late 40s through the 50s. Kind of rough. I don't know. Like, I know Armstrong, they were pretty well known for like good quality stuff. I know some of the later on models were pretty nice. This one just seems average for that time period. Okay guys, until next time.